Welcome to the Recruitment Rollercoaster podcast. My name is Hisham Azuz, and today I'm joined by Joe Head, who works for an agency called Mark James. Mark James are a boutique, multidisciplined recruitment company, and Joe joined them 7 months ago as an associate director to help them build their technology arm from scratch. And previous to this, Joe worked for Austin Fraser for 6 years. So, Joe, thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it.
Excited to have you on. Obviously, you came to the live event in November, didn't you?
Yes, yeah, really good event.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed it.
And you don't have to say that, mate.
Wow. Yeah. I did. I'm not lying.
I know we engaged there and communicated. So, been looking forward to this. Obviously, we've been chatting before, and I think you're someone that's clearly really passionate about recruitment, which I think is always great to see and like just soak up, which is really cool. So, as you know, mate, where I always like to start on this podcast, how did Joe enter the world of recruitment?
I'm probably going to have the same answer as most people, which is fell into it.
Really?
Yeah, so I literally...
Did you go to uni?
No, didn't go to university. I worked, did my A-levels, came out of school. I actually worked in Hugo Boss. Just literally needed a job. I was, fresh-faced 18-year-old.
Yeah.
And then I had no idea that recruitment even existed. Probably like a lot of people, didn't really know what it was about, didn't know that there was even a professional business that you could go into in that space. Got a call from my old company, Austin Fraser, as a trainee recruitment consultant, and yeah, it's kind of it really. I was like, to be fair, I actually thought I messed up the interview.
Really?
Yeah, I went to the final stage interview in a pair of jeans.
Wow.
So
Why is that? Because it's a tech recruitment business.
Yeah, I sort of just like, do you know what? I'm going to give it a go. Why not? Why not be quirky? Yeah, I kind of got a lot of looks in the office.
Really?
When I walked through in a pair of jeans.
What type of jeans were there? What type of jeans? I'm assuming if you worked at Hugo Boss, they were like skinny or like tailored.
Yeah,
they weren't.
Well, they were just like skinny fit black jeans.
Yeah.
Right. To be fair, I wore like a nice blazer and a shirt on top of it, so it wasn't.
Yeah. So you look
too
like,
bad.
yeah, you can look quite smart.
Yeah, I look quite smart, but I did actually think I'd like.
Did they bring it up in an interview?
They've actually brought it up in my feedback from my interview, saying, look, we liked you, like we thought you did well, but why did you wear jeans? Yeah. And I was like, I just got the vibe from the office that I was going to wear a pair of jeans.
Yeah, like I mean, the internal recruiter though, come on.
Yeah,
they must have said, surely.
Well, do you know what? I actually can't really remember. They must have done. They must have given me.
Well, they should have.
Yeah, they should have.
Look, Joe, so look, well done.
Yeah.
Invite it back, just so you know. Thinking about wearing jeans, don't.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what I got into, but I got the job.
Yeah.
So
wicked, mate.
Yeah, I got the job.
Do you think that if you was to if you were to interview Austin Fraser now and wear jeans and with that outfit, do you think you wouldn't get a second look? Because I've been to Austin Fraser offices.
Yeah, no, probably not. They'd probably be like, that's absolutely fine. That's cool.
That's interesting, though, right?
That's fine.
But I think that's what's changed a bit.
Yeah, but back in the day, it was like, like you were meant to go suited and booted. Suited and booted, tie, like that's kind of what was expected. But look, I'm here to break the norm, right?
Cool. So let's just frame it up for everyone. So join Austin Fraser. That if you don't know Austin Fraser, big global recruitment business. I think they have a great brand, sort of online from what I can see. So you joined there and stayed there for six and a bit years.
Yeah.
So real solid stint for your first recruitment job. And then obviously 7 months ago, you joined a smaller boutique agency after leaving Austin Fraser. Yeah. So
cool.
So let's first like really dive into your journey at Austin Fraser. So just to frame it up. So as I said, I've been to Austin Fraser offices in Reading, really impressive. Obviously, right now, if you were to look at them online, you think they're huge, big, whatever. Like, so what was it like when you joined, firstly?
So we actually had a completely different office, still in Reading.
Yeah.
We had just pretty much one floor.
How many people was it, reckon, roughly?
Probably like maybe 50 or 60. So like compared to what it is now, like
and now we're talking
250, 300 people.
Yeah, so so you went through that growth, which is mad.
Yeah, like literally saw everything, saw them open up, multiple different offices, went through that kind of whole journey with them, kind of watched them grow really as a business. And, and like, to be fair, like I actually can't fault anything about the business. They taught me everything I knew, and I wouldn't be kind of in the situation where I am now without that experience. So
okay, so again, sort of just a final put on that. So did you sort of, from what I saw on LinkedIn, you had the typical route of trainee consultant, then consultant, then senior consultant, and then you left.
Yeah, pretty much. So started out as a trainee. I mean, like everyone, trainee consultant, it was hard.
Yeah, what was the first year like then?
I didn't do my first deal for 10 months.
10 months?
It took 10 months to do a deal.
Really?
Yeah, it took you 10 months.
And as you were saying before, so was you in contract that whole time, or did you then flip to perm?
So I started off as a contract consultant, and it literally, like, for me, like, I was putting in the hours, like, I was, like, working, like...
Really putting in the work?
Yeah. Okay. Basically, yeah, like, putting in the work. Like, I remember being in the office one night till, like, 11 o'clock at night.
Really?
Like, going through CVs, because, like, my manager was like, if you don't have CVs for this job tomorrow, like... you're getting a bollocking, basically.
Really?
So
and then just sorry to butt in, but I may or may not have listened to it, but I shared a podcast not too long ago with a guy called Lloyd Hume, and he spoken about this, and when he ended up having a really late night, he got a hotel.
Really?
Did you get a hotel?
Not quite. I remember not quite. I remember getting the bus home.
Like really late.
Really, really late. Like mum was like, bear in mind I'm like 18 at this point.
Yeah.
Like mum was like, what
What's
are you
going
doing? Like working this late? Like, not realising like what you got to do. So
okay. So how long did you do contract for?
So I did contract for I think 2 years.
Oh wow!
It was like about 18 months, 2 years.
So you were doing the contract market for that first whole 10 months?
Yeah, for literally for the whole 10 months. And I didn't actually. So when I first started Austin Fraser, the rule was you had to do 3 pull and places. So for anyone that obviously doesn't understand a pull and place, it's kind of like 3 self-generated deals. Not passed by anyone, getting the client yourself, agreeing the terms, and doing the deal yourself. So it actually took me. So it was really weird story. So. Took 10 months to get promoted, and I was actually on performance management.
Really?
I was literally on the brink of being fired pretty much because they were like, what's going on? It doesn't... Shit, basically, mate, I'm not even afraid to admit it. Like I probably was, and my manager was probably pulling his hair out. It's probably a reason why maybe he's balding like at the moment. But yeah, like I was on performance management. Like people were just like, why are you not getting it, sort of thing? Like what's the situation? Like why are you not like? Typically people can get promoted pretty quickly. Like they had like good training and stuff, and I just wasn't getting it. I literally just could not get my head around recruitment. I couldn't get it. Interestingly, when I got put on performance management, I did 3 deals the month after in 1 month in 3 pulling places and got promoted.
Why do you think that is then? Let's talk about that. I think something that I always get messages about is the sort of early part of their career, and I think the fact that you didn't bill or do any deals for 10 months, let's definitely talk a bit about that.
Yeah.
So like, why do you think that is then?
I think so. I kind of look on it in reflection now, and I think like for a lot of people that were really young going into it, like there was no consequences for me not doing a deal.
Okay.
So like I was living at home with my mum and sister. Like I was getting paid like okay money on a salary for someone that's like has no bills or anything. Like I didn't have that kind of like there was no consequence for me not doing well. So loads of people in recruitment have like their why and their reason for like wanting to do well, whether that be family, house, like that kind of stuff. When you're as young as like I was, like you don't have those things.
But you was working hard. Why was you working so hard then?
I think for me, it was just a bit of like self-pride. Like,
really?
I didn't want to get. I kind of bought into the culture and how much I enjoyed that place that I didn't want to be that guy that got fired, right? And that failed. And I think like actually being put on performance management, and I had this conversation with my old manager that actually kind of gives you there's a consequence of you if you don't do well, you're going to get fired. And that's kind of what I think kind of spurred me on, and I was like, oh shit, there's a consequence. I better
fair enough.
I better do something about this.
So what do you think, looking back now, what do you think made you continue in those first 10? Why didn't you quit yourself?
I think I just saw, for me, like I just had like, I could see other people doing well. Like I was with like really, like I had a really, really like successful manager, people around me doing quite well. And I was like, I want some of that. Like I'd kind of immediately got on with a lot of the people there, and I didn't want to lose that kind of like,
fair enough.
I didn't want to lose that. Like, I'm even now I'm friends with like a lot of people that are still there that I've known my whole career.
And
I think like for me, I didn't want to kind of walk away from that, and I didn't want to quit. I did not want to give up. I was like, I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to keep doing it.
So that was a big factor.
Yeah, massively. Like I think massively. Like there was that. Like I just didn't want to fail.
What was they saying to you?
Lots of things. Probably some things I can't repeat on the on this podcast.
Well, like you're on your way out, mate.
Yeah, pretty much. They were like every review. You know, I was having like daily reviews.
Really?
So like KPIs, like why are they not like where they are, like properly, like, you know, like going in on me for a lot of things, and like whether that be like how many managers you add in, how many leads you're getting, like what's going on, kind of thing. Yeah, and I think literally going on that performance management, probably the best thing that's ever happened to me, because I don't think I'd have gone back into recruitment if I had been really fired. But yeah, like I think like it was that kind of consequence, and I think like having a reason why, like you do the things you do, and like my why, as bad as it sounds at the time, but my why for smashing work at that time in that kind of 1 month when I got promoted was because I didn't want to get fired.
Yeah,
that was kind of it. But like a lot of people have different whys of like, you know, whether you got kids or family.
And that period, mate, just out of interest, did you ask for help?
Probably, but I think a lot of what I was like, we had a training program, and it was like not like now it's a really, really good training program now. Back in the day, it was like 6 weeks sat in a room, and you learn some stuff.
Like classroom,
yeah, like classroom. And I think for a lot of people that doesn't necessarily work that well. Like for me, I couldn't learn like that. Yeah, there was probably at times when I was like, I really, really need some help. But then other times you would just like, I think you would just think that, and this will, like, I guess as I've got older in my recruitment career, like you learn to work smarter and not harder. Like I could put all the hours in the day, but didn't get anything out of it. Didn't do the right things. Didn't get the things I needed to be successful. It was just like, oh yeah, I've added 20 managers in one day. I didn't ever contact any of them. So, you know, yeah.
No, I was just interested because what's come up a lot recently is, because it was just interesting there you saying that people around you obviously giving you a bit of banter, and you obviously had to do some internal selling. Look, this is something I want to do. I'm really grafting, even though my KPIs might not be quite there. So you also had to do some internal selling to keep your job, clearly. But I'm just interested because I think what a lot of people underestimate, and I definitely didn't utilize this, because when you are surrounded by people that are doing well and these types of things, it can be quite daunting or intimidating. You can be quite intimidated by the top biller or intimidated. So I think what's come up a lot, which is why I asked that question, is don't underestimate how people are willing to help. So clearly, from what you said, I think I'm making the assumption that you probably didn't ask for that much help.
No way. But do you know what's really interesting? I think that's kind of like, and again, I don't know because I've only worked for 2 recruitment companies now. But I think like when you're like in that situation, I think it can be quite daunting, and you can be quite sort of like put off by asking someone for help that's doing really well. But I think that kind of has slowly changed like massively in the industry as a whole. That is kind of the whole mindset of recruitment now. And even at the event, you know, like people were saying, it's now, it sounds weird to say, but it's now considered a bit more of a professional business to kind of go into. So I think when you're young and you're like, you just think that, oh yeah, I'm just going to do all this hard work and it's just going to happen. Like actually looking back on it, I probably would have asked for help.
To round that off then, like knowing what you know now, like what would you have done differently to ensure that it didn't take 10 months for you to do a pull in place?
Listen to my manager, bro, probably more.
Really? Did you sort of feel like did you have that sort of mentality? Obviously, you was young though, right? 18,
I think I guess like had I known, let's say I knew everything I knew now about recruitment. I think had I just done the basics of what recruitment is, and had I just stuck to that daily, and not got so kind of worried and panicky and working till like, you know, late nights at like I say, like 11:30 at night. Had I actually just taken the whole like, you know, work smarter, not harder, I would have been got promoted a lot, but long before that. But actually, to be fair, I'm pretty grateful for that kind of journey. I'm really grateful for actually failing and not doing so well, and then kind of actually like learning from that massively.
Yeah. Okay. So then did your first couple of deals after the performance management, being put on performance management after? Okay, cool. So year one then, what you ended up with, obviously in the contract world, do you end up having a few runners then out?
I think I got to, so I went, because I got promoted to a recruitment consultant. Then I ended up getting to about, I think I've only about $3,000 weekly GP. So really like nothing really, like considering like some of the people that were there. I think I did like 80,000, like really? like
what, in that first year?
No, I think that was kind of a year from getting promoted. Like
so like year 2 you ended up
I think it was about like 80,000, like something like that. And then I couldn't, I don't know, for me the kind of journey that I went on was like I could not on the contract market get like over $3,000. I think
Really?
it was. Like I even think.
Why do you struggle so much? Because I was a perm recruiter, so
Yeah, do you know what? I couldn't put my. I guess I couldn't put my finger on it necessarily. That the main reasons, but I think like maybe the way I am as like an individual, like I'm like there were a lot of contract recruiters that are really good, that are very very like salesy. Like back in the day, were like on it, bosh straight on it, bang 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 bang. Like they knew candidates, they worked core market, they were like doing in deals constantly, and I was kind of like got to a point where. Like I had like $3,000, but I had like 1,500 quid worth of finishers in like a month. So I was like, oh shit, this is about to go bad. Yeah. So, but luckily, like really interestingly, like I got switched over to perm.
Why did you ask for that?
Kind of asked for it, but also it was an opportunity that came up. Like my manager was like, there's actually could be some really good, there's some good things that you're doing as a person that, you know, you build a lot of rapport with people, like on, you know, permanent.
A bit more suited for
a bit more suited for perm, like very, very like personable, and you can build relationships with people, which in perm is, you actually need that quite a lot, especially when you're ultimately making like life-changing decisions for people. So yeah, I switched over to perm, kind of business decision / kind of, I wanted to keep my job. So I like switched over to perm, and actually interestingly, like my first month on perm, I did like 20 odd grand worth of business.
Really?
Like my first month, not like that I just bailed the deal. I got 20 grand. So I was like, okay, this is probably going to be my route from now on.
Yeah. So then ever since then, you've done perm, which is what, like 4.5 years, isn't it?
Yeah, literally. Yeah. Ever since then, been a perm recruiter, everything. But then like, I think actually like the contract mentality that I've got like has really helped me as well, because having that mentality of like, you know, as a contract consultant, you get a contract job on, you need to know CVs like straight away. Like,
so the urgency.
The urgency has like really helped me in the perm kind of side of things. Like when we're like selling to a like candidate or a client, like there's like an element, there's always that urgency to get stuff done quicker. And like people always say, oh, perm takes a lot longer, but like it doesn't have to if you can make it. Like actually you can make things turn around quite quickly.
Or you can apply that same urgency to everything that's involved in the perm recruitment cycle.
Literally everything. You can just apply that same urgency and that same mentality of like, actually, if a perm job comes up, I still know the 3 best guys to go to. Like I still know those candidates.
So, like, so you're grateful that ended up being your route, because it's obviously equipped you with.
Yeah, massively. And that's what like always was kind of said to me, was actually that urgency that you got to get stuff done. And you know, the fact that I had that kind of mentality that when we had a perm job, I already knew 3 good candidates, because of that's what you needed to do on the contract side. The contract days, you like had to know the candidates, otherwise another agency would fill the job. So I think that's really like massively helped me kind of step my perm game up.
So biggest learning then in those first 2 years, mate, what we're saying, because clearly you struggled.
Yeah, massively.
Because there'll be contract recruiters listening that might be going through that right now.
Yeah, I think like the biggest kind of learn for me was like again, and I still do this today, right, is sticking to the basics of what recruitment is. Recruitment is not hard. Like it is not necessarily a hard thing to do, but people can make it really, really difficult because they get kind of really worked up.
I mean, it's interesting to say that. Sorry to butt in, but I had recorded an episode with a guy called Nick Carman, and he hates people saying that recruitment's not hard to do.
Really?
Just because, but I know I get the context of what you're saying. Obviously, there's context is important. That, but all he means by that is he finds that as because he has dedicated over a decade of his life to being the best recruiter he can be. Yeah. So for someone to sort of just discount what he does as easy to do, he doesn't like that. But I get what you're saying, as in like getting back to the basics and not overcomplicating.
Yeah, like the more like it's not okay. Yeah, recruitment, it's not an easy job to do, but the fundamentals of what what like if you actually take it back to its bare bones of what recruitment is, we talk to candidates, we find those good candidates for jobs. Yeah. And actually, like people can really overcomplicate that quite a lot. And I think if you like talking to like your manager or someone, I think it's important to not overcomplicate that. Like if you're okay, fair enough. If you haven't got any jobs on, okay, what's the first thing you do? Go and talk to some candidates, like learn. And I think even if you're brand new to recruitment, the first thing you do is just talk to people to get to understand.
So you would have got back to
market.
Basics.
Yeah, definitely.
What was you overcomplicating then?
I think I was probably just overcomplicating. A lot of the times, especially in technology recruitment, you can kind of overcomplicate a lot of what the job actually is in terms of like, you know, you take a really good job spec and I think because you want to find the perfect candidate for the job and especially in contract recruitment, that's not, you know, contract recruitment is right, 3-4 really good contract CVs, send them to the client. I think for me, I was kind of like, oh no, I'm not too sure if this person is any good. I mean, I had it at times where I'd be like, I remember one deal, like I can't remember exactly when, but it was like you'd speak to the guy, you go, nah, he's not quite right for the job, and then he goes and gets the job.
Okay,
And it's
I
that kind of like,
that's what you get better at.
yeah, and that's what you get better at, right? And I think so. If I was to like,
Okay, that makes sense.
yeah, so I think if you were like, don't kind of overcomplicate. Like if you're brand new to contract recruitment, don't overcomplicate. If you take a good job spec from someone, don't like think, this guy's not right because he hasn't got that. Ask your manager.
I think what I learned as a perm recruiter, which you get better at, is don't ever assume.
Yeah, massively.
That's what you're talking about. There is like
Never
you're completely
assume.
right. That's like that. Yeah, it's so true, and I think I love the way that you just articulate that. I think that's really true. I think a lot of people can benefit from that, and I think you're quite prone to that early on.
Yeah,
so I remember, especially early on when you're not as confident as you would be 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line, getting on the phone, being proactive. Like for me, I always remember when like I wasn't as confident on the phone. Like I'd look at CVs and like because you're just wired to pick the easiest option in your life, right?
Yeah.
I was looking for reasons not to call that person.
Yeah, 100%.
And just assuming.
Yeah, 100%.
Do you know what I mean?
And then I remember, he's sitting there like when you're brand new to recruitment, sitting there, and by the time you've worried about what you're going to say, the guy might not even pick up the phone. Like, so you're there like worrying about it, like, oh my God, what's this guy going to think? Like, and it even things like, asking for someone to go, oh, by the way, who did you work for in your last job? People are so like, oh my God, I can't ask that. I can't ask that.
Yeah.
But
so,
actually, that you don't know that guy might just turn around and go, oh, by the way, it was this guy. He's looking for someone. Like,
so great advice. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't assume. And if you do assume and someone gets a job that you spoke to them about, not through you, don't make that mistake again. That's the key thing, which we'll get onto around resilience, right? Is it's about learning from the mistakes and then don't do them again.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that, I love that you said that, and that's great advice. So transitioned into a perm recruiter. So did you stay in the similar market, or did you change market, or?
So I actually stayed in the completely same market,
nice.
Which was actually quite good because I'd already learned all the technologies, and I kind of knew already that market and how to kind of work it.
That helps, right?
Yeah, massively.
So for first year as a perm recruiter then, so that would have been your third year as a recruiter. How was that? And so you did 20 or so grand in the first month?
I did 20 grand in the first month. And then I think I actually ended up, I did actually like not too bad considering I kind of changed to perm. I think I ended up doing about 150 or just
first
under.
Year. Much better than $3 grand a week, mate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, tell me about it. So I kind of got to that level. I just started enjoying my work like more,
really?
Like massively. Like I started to kind of, it's weird. Like it's such an old school saying, but the penny dropped. And it kind of did, like the penny drops when you're doing it, and then suddenly like you learn from your mistakes of like what I wasn't doing before, and then I was like asking people, and then I started to get, everyone, like when you start doing deals, you get more confidence. You get that kind of aura of confidence to go and call people and start asking the right questions and using that confidence to kind of just like get my career like back on track sort of thing.
Yeah. And so just to help me out, so from that point, did you then just stay as a biller, or did you manage people?
So at that point I just stayed as a biller. So I went through like wanted to get my senior consultant. Like that was like a really big thing for me.
And what was that? How was that met? How did you get senior consultant?
So we had to do so it was 120 grand's worth of 160 grand's worth of starters in a 6-month period.
Oh,
so
wow.
you had to have everyone start. It didn't matter when they started, as long as it was in a 6-month period.
Yeah.
And then you'd be promoted. So
that was your next like real goal.
Yeah, that was my next real goal. And actually, I think the one thing for me that I guess kind of really helped me get there, and something that I wanted to say, was kind of having a bit of self-worth. Okay. And that was something that my mindset really changed. Like in my, like when I started doing perm recruitment, and I had like an okay year, and then like I started kind of valuing a lot more about what I was doing, because I could see like how much work I was putting in, and I was like started telling clients, I was like, this is how much work I put in, like, and then I was increasing my percentages, and then I was getting like more like exclusivity on jobs, or upgrading those jobs with interview slots. And I think like for me, that was the biggest thing I changed like in my mindset, was just valuing my work.
How did you change that? Like what, did anything happen, or like how did you change it?
I think it just sort of became like, I think there probably was an element of like the confidence of like doing a few deals and kind of going along, and then I was just like, do you know what? I'm working so hard, but I'm getting clients that are maybe like, messing me about or like not doing the right things for me. And I'm like, actually, why are they not doing the right things for me? I'm doing all this hard work for them. So I started like telling clients of like how hard I was working. And I started saying to clients, look, if you don't want that kind of service, then let's not kind of like we don't want to work with you. And I think that comes down like that kind of value what you do as an individual. Like as recruiters, we work hard. Like we work hard, we put the hours in. Yeah. But a lot of people don't tell their clients that.
Yeah,
I think like
totally.
I've never understood that. And I've like tell your clients how hard you work so they get an insight into your job. Yeah. Like they've got probably no problem telling you how busy their day is or how hard they're working or the hours they're putting in. So tell it to them as well.
No, I think that's such a great insight. I think there's two things in there is, as you said, I think that it comes with actually the realization of helping a lot of people, working with businesses and making placements and all that, and actually recognizing how much of an impact you have on their business and how valuable it is what you're doing. So so I think there's two things in there. One, like when you really realize like how like really believe in. So I think for me, what changed for me when I was in recruitment, so I did 2.5 years, and I would say 18 months in, I sort of had that moment. Yeah. And when you like really believe that when you're on the phone to that candidate or client that you are the best person that they should be speaking to, that's when shit changes. Yeah, and you 100%. Like truly believe that, and because that just comes out of everything that you communicate and stuff like that. So that's a great insight. And then the other thing, actually, you're totally right, is educating your clients and candidates on what you do on a daily basis, because you'd be surprised that, again, people assume that these people know what you do and how you work. Yeah. It's really interesting because one of the sort of early videos that I made when I was in recruitment, it was like the third video, it was all about just educating people what we do. So the video was pretty much like, so just to let you all know that when we do take on a job, we don't post a job on Reed and then put our feet up. Yeah, literally. But that is lots of people. You'd be so surprised. Even now, people that are like hiring managers or people that are like even like some like HR people are probably just like, oh, you just put an job advert up and you hope that someone applies for it. Well, actually, if you work in a really, really kind of niche technology market or a niche market or any market for that matter, we're out there, we're going to like communities, meetups, we're meeting people, we are talking to like maybe 10, 15, 20 people a day to get our networks up. And I think like a lot of people just don't realize how much time you put in. Like what happens if when we as recruiters don't have any jobs on, we're still talking to candidates, we're still there building that network so that when the clients like whoever we're talking to need their job filled, we've got people straight away. And I think people do, like a lot of people just think we pluck candidates from the air and we're just out there, let's do those candidates, let's make some money. So how did you communicating that and getting better at that help you? Like how much of an impact did it have then? So you mentioned around fees and stuff like that. Like
massively. Like it took I'd say like when you do it, you kind of like, I think there is an element of being really brave. Like you have to be brave.
So what sort of things did you say then?
So
like articulate
like what to clients?
Yeah. So like what did you start to, because I'm sure you end up just getting a bit of a spiel, don't you? So like what did you end up
so you would just kind of say, you would basically walk through clients through the steps of like what you do on a daily basis. And like there's going to be quite a few people listening that might have good pitches like this or people that maybe don't have pitches. But for me, I was always like, right, look, these are the reasons why I am the best recruiter. I've recruited in this market. I've only ever done this technology. Like I've only ever worked in this one market. I talk to people day in, day out. I recruit specifically in London and I work with clients that basically have the same kind of setup as you guys, the same technology. They're competitors of yours and I know them and I can go and like either headhunt people for you or I can go and do like, really, really good kind of like acquisition kind of projects for you and just telling people. And like the thing around like meetups and communities and, I did that quite a bit and going to meet people and just having a bit more of like that real confidence to say exactly what you do. And there are some, like I say, we said it, like there's people out there that have no clue what you do in recruitment. They just think that you find people and that's it.
Yeah. And actually, that helps you raise your fees.
Because you then start negotiating a lot more. And then like, even if you're say 1% on every deal you've done over the course of the year, it makes a huge difference, massive difference to your billings. And I think like as much and walk away from business that don't want to work with you. If they're like, oh, we only work at 15% and we work with 6 agencies, just say, look, cool, really sorry, I don't want to give you the service I currently provide because I don't give a 15% service, I give a 25% service.
There's a lot of power in that, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a lot of power in that. And people are actually like, sometimes people are like, oh, actually, I kind of want to know what that 25% service is like. I don't want to like what am I not getting from it? So I think it's really important to like just be confident. I know that takes time. That it's always going to take time, and it's really like I applaud anyone that like is new to recruitment that can walk away from business. And I think that's a really brave thing to do, because when you're new, all you want is jobs on. Actually, if you're like the first, you're a new recruiter and you're going, do you know what? I'm going to really have some self-worth and value myself. I don't want to work with that 15%.
No, I think that's great, mate. So I think if you really start believing in the value and service that you bring to your clients' candidates, you really start articulating, educating more, like over communicating what you actually do on a daily basis, how hard you work. That will go a long way.
Massively, 100%. Like, just start explaining. Like, let's start telling. Like, even across the industry in recruitment, let's start telling people what we do and why we work as hard as we do. It's not just because we're not, like you say, we ain't got our feet up and just hoping that 20 grand deals come through the door.
Exactly,
like,
mate.
We actually work for it.
Okay, cool. So let's just talk a bit about. So obviously, perm recruiters did about 150k in your first year.
Yep.
So obviously, clearly, really motivated to get that senior title, which involved 120, 130k of new business in 6 months. So how did you do performance-wise, like billings-wise, up until the point you left? Then, and then break that down a bit.
So I think the last year I did, like, I was nowhere near like an amazing recruiter. Like, I worked with some people that were like really, really good perm recruiters that were doing like 500-600. I think I got just under 300.
What was your best year?
I think it was like 280.
Mate, that's good, mate.
So like that's what I like. I think like.
So when did, just to help me out, because let's break this down. When did you get to when was the year that you hit 280?
It was actually last 2000 and so I left Austin Fraser last year.
Yeah, I'm shit at this. So back end of last year, 2019.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So your last year at Austin Fraser
was pretty much my biggest year. Yeah,
really?
which is I guess kind of like interesting in a sense, because people will be like, oh well, why did you leave?
We'll go into that, but I guess what I'd love to just for you to share and just articulate and talk a bit about, and I'm sure some of it is what we were just talking about, but again, real common thing that I get is, Hisham, for the last 3 years, I've hit 150k, 180k. Like, how the fuck do I break this 200k mark? Or obviously you came close to hitting the 300k mark.
Yeah.
So I think there's an interesting factor there we were talking about before we started this, is one, you were surrounded by people that were doing bigger than numbers than you anyway. That clearly obviously has an impact, right? So I guess, what's your sort of perspective and thoughts on how you managed to sort of level up your billings and continue to increase those?
So I think definitely, like we just touched on it, like the self-worth and the value of your business was like, is so important, and that really helped me. But again, like we mentioned it earlier, like going back to the basics of what recruitment is, like no matter how good you kind of like are in it, even if you're like an amazing biller, like just if you still do the basics of like, okay, well you still need to do like BD, and you need to like add new contacts and new managers into the system, and you still need to kind of take it back like to what is a successful like method of like, and obviously there'll be like different recruitment companies out there. Like AF had their own kind of success measures in terms of like the KPIs and the figures, but I think you kind of have to still do KPIs. Like, what were they? So I think it was 10. So it was called 10-5-2.
10-5-2.
So
what was that?
10 interviews, 5 jobs. Two. I can't remember it now. 2 something.
Okay.
It was like
this a week on a
weekly. Yeah, so it was like a weekly basis of like what your KPIs would be. And I'd say to anyone that like, because one thing I see in recruitment a lot is like, oh, we're not KPI driven. But I'm like, kind of like, I don't necessarily understand that quite fully, because actually KPIs are the fundamentals of most sales jobs.
Yeah, you need to understand what you need to do on a daily basis to get you to point A or point B.
Like, exactly. So like, and I think like just doing the KPIs, and don't be afraid to do them. I don't think people should be afraid to talk about KPIs. I know like there's loads of companies out there, oh, we're not KPI driven, and we're not, and it's like, well, you kind of have to be like in sales. And I think like people shouldn't be afraid or be scared to kind of mention about KPIs and doing, again, like the basics of recruitment.
Just a quick one on that. Let's definitely stay on this. I have a few things. So just one of the questions that I got from someone that was on this, actually I wrote it down on here, was So they said one thing I'll be interested in would be maybe a bit of chat specifically around big recruitment firms, which you was in, and how an overemphasis on KPIs can sometimes prove counterintuitive. It's something I found problematic in my short time in a bigger firm, whereby I actively had to stop chasing leads because I had only done 45 minutes business development. Do you know what I mean?
Okay,
so I get it. So look, there's pros and cons. There's not like but like, what are your thoughts on that? Like, because you work for a bigger firm, right?
Yeah. I think massively KPIs can be detrimental, to business. Like, absolutely no doubt. If you've got a manager that's breathing down your neck and he's like,
you haven't done your 10, mate. You haven't done your 5.
Yeah, you're massively. That is going to be an effect on like your workload. Also, like mentally, that's going to really affect you, you're going to be like getting down about it. Like if you haven't done it, I think there's like as a leader and as a manager in any business, you have to be really kind of like careful in the way you talk about it, but it has to be something you have to talk about, because every single company, like recruitment company, sales company, they're results driven. We don't, unless you're kind of lucky, you don't have most businesses don't have a million different clients that are just coming to them with jobs non-stop, right? So I think if you do it in a way that which is kind of it's inspiring to someone, they can see the benefit of why they're doing it, then they're going to do it. So something that like I'm trying to do at the moment is actually be a bit more like, okay, well, I'm going to do it. I'm going to show you how to do it and what works well and why it works well. I'm not just telling you to do it, because then you're not actually seeing the result and the benefit of it. Makes sense. So I think if you're like actually on that journey with someone, especially if they're new, as a leader or as a manager, you should be kind of demonstrating how it's done. And I think that,
so I guess if you're listening right now and you're like, fucking hell, my manager keeps banging on me about speaking to 10 decision makers before 10 o'clock or whatever, and you're getting bogged down by it, like I think it's fair to say then you need to communicate internally. Like one, ask yourself the question, do you know why you've got to do that? Yeah, do you know? Because that's what you're saying there. You actually see the value in why they've set these KPIs or indicators as to. So one, take a step back from it, and instead of just pointing the finger and moaning at your manager getting you down. Like, why? Do you know why they've told you to do this? And then two, if you think it is a bit too much or unrealistic, or it's affecting other things where you're making poor decisions, like 45 minutes business development or whatever, that's not a good thing. You need to communicate internally. Yeah,
I mean, definitely. Like most people, the reason people don't do things is if they don't see value in it. So I think like there has to be like, why does that person need to add 10 managers or do more business development per day? And I think like if you're educated around it, and I think that's one of the biggest things like coming new to recruitment, I think if you've got a really, really good kind of someone that's like educating you around kind of the principles of what recruitment is and how we do it and the kind of fundamentals of what make up recruitment, I think then you're going to learn a lot more. Nice. I think there's obviously certain businesses maybe out there that are like, their managers are just like, right, do this, and if you don't do this, well, you're going to be shit.
Exactly.
It's like, well, actually, that doesn't really work, because that person isn't going to know a clue what any of that really means. So I think they just need to kind of like, you need to be able to demonstrate to that person the benefit in doing it. And that might take someone just to go like, get on the phone and talk to a candidate or talk to a manager and show them a little bit of how it's done.
Yeah, nice.
And give them that kind of like, do you know what? This guy's inspiring me. I see value in doing it. I want to be like that person.
Nice. So what I'd like to talk to you a bit about, because I think this is also part of what you're indicating to. So a real common thing that a lot of people ask me about as well is sort of what your day looks like and time management and stuff like that. So I think obviously when I asked you around getting your billings to those sorts of figures from 150k and continuing to improve those, and you were talking about getting back, making sure you're doing the basics right, you're hitting, what you need to do to the KPIs piece stuff. So I guess what I'd like to think about and share is what was different in your day, if it was that you had in your day, or how you structured your day when you was billing 150k compared to 280k, because I'm sure there's some non-negotiables that you sort of start to evolve or have. Like, what does that look like?
So I think like in terms of like day structure, I think like I was like, to anyone, like you've got to be really, really kind of like rigid with it. Like you got to stick to it, because so many times, I mean, I've done it, I'm sure like you, like people do it where they say, oh, I'm going to do this, and then they don't. And then it's like, oh, why didn't you do that? Oh, I had some other things to do. And I think it's like, just finding like when you structure your day, right, go to the top of the list and go, right, what's the most important thing? Look at always look at my jobs. So I go, right, in the morning, let's have a look, let's see what jobs are working. Let's
break down your day then, because I'm sure this is what got better compared to early on.
Break down your day and be really kind of and stick to it as well and actually do it. Like if you're gonna say, right, I know that I need to book in 5 interviews today, or I need to find 5 candidates to send to that job because the client really needs CVs, then kind of hold yourself accountable for it. And if you haven't done it by the time the day is shut, then stay and do it. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's not we're not saying to people work the incredible hours, but if you said to yourself, right, I really need to do this today, I need to get this done because I know this is going to help me do a deal, then kind of hold yourself accountable, being I'm actually going to get this done. So for me, I always now, my day is kind of structured right, take a look at the jobs we got on. Let's understand who our best clients are, who's coming back to us on CV feedback.
So prioritizing relationships
massively prioritize your relationships over people that aren't giving you that kind of service. Again, that comes down to kind of valuing.
So that's the first thing that you're doing.
So looking at the jobs, going, right, these are the kind of best ones, I'm going to kind of work on these. If you haven't spoken to that client in a while, or you've not heard back from them, give them a call. There's nothing wrong with, I often see it I don't want to call the clients, I don't want to annoy them, or I only sent CVs yesterday. And it's well, actually, they've asked you to send CVs, and all you're doing is kind of chasing feedback because that candidate has chased you, or that candidate wants to know if he's successful for the job. So I think if you do it again in a real constructive way, in a way in which that doesn't annoy the client, it's fine to call those people. So we're always trying to at the moment having a big push on the clients that we have got is kind of nurturing them a little bit. And actually let's see where we can, let's ask for some feedback. How are we doing? How are we performing against your other agencies? How are you finding working with us? As I think feedback's really, really important. So I know we're kind of taking a bit of a tangent on the day plan, but
that makes sense. So what it sounds like then is what you got better at is recognizing and understanding what were your hot jobs, or the jobs that you should be spending time on, and then would that fuel the rest of your day then?
So you would kind of fuel the rest of your day. Of course, there's always going to be things we always do things chasing the leads down, who's interviewing where, who's hiring at the moment, and let's kind of have those days. But and you'd always kind of dedicate some time to those really kind of hot stuff, basically, that's out there, they're recruiting. I heard that they're recruiting yesterday. Yesterday evening I spoke to someone and heard they were recruiting, so I want to go straight away and try and find that and try and hunt that down.
So do you block out time in your diary or not?
So we actually, so at the moment we do sales days, so that everyone's kind of in it together. So every Wednesday.
What's involved in those?
So every Wednesday, we kind of have a bit of a sales push, because it's kind of bringing everyone as a team together doing it, and I think it creates a really good buzz in the office. I think it's quite.
So you're doing BD all day?
Yeah, literally just
Is it?
Yeah. Well, of course there are exceptions where if you've got stuff to sort out, of course. But we're sort of trying to do something at the moment where it's just bringing everyone together. Let's have a bit of a push together to get this done. Of course, there's going to be times when you need to do BD on other days, and that's more of a self-awareness thing. It's if you get to a Thursday and you're I haven't done any BD calls, maybe ask your manager where can I bring in the list up, what can I do, what can I do differently, or I need some help kind of thinking of the people to call. But definitely the whole thing about kind of prioritizing your workload about what's most important. So if you haven't got any jobs, cool, where are those jobs going to come from? And just having a little sit down, a little plan of action for the day, right, okay, I haven't got any jobs, I know that those people are recruiting, I'm going to really, really try and get those jobs on. The next best thing after, if they can't get a job on, is try and get a meeting. It's just breaking it down little by little to kind of and don't we always say celebrate the small wins. There's no, if you didn't get a job on but you got a meeting, that's amazing. Don't kind of beat yourself up because you didn't get the job on, but you got a meeting with a new client. Celebrate that. Do you know what I mean? Still, that's amazing work anyway.
No, you're right. I really like that. So I guess just to run that off, mate, I'm looking at this question that someone sent me. Is pretty much it's pretty much what I sort of asked you. So just to run that off is so this person said, I'd like to always hear the daily routines of a recruiter in their first year versus their year 4 or 5 plus. What daily must do has changed? So just to run that off, what would you say the sort of daily must do that's changed that when you was year one in your perm recruitment career?
I think year one was what changed, like for me, like in year one, was like massively BD focused, and being really kind of like, right, that was kind of the goal. Be really focused on that and set yourself kind of really simple targets to kind of hit of like BD, and trying to, you know, get in front of those clients. And then I think as you kind of go on in your career, things slowly slightly change, because you've got more clients as you kind of like, as you kind of get older in your career, you have those clients, you have those jobs to work. And I think again, that comes down to like the routine, and what I do now is be kind of really specific with those jobs and nurture those relationships, because too many times in recruitment, you know, I'm sure there's other people out there where like you could have had a really good relationship, and for whatever reason it was neglected, it wasn't worked out, you never got feedback.
You can always be thinking about a new client.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's really important to like, definitely in like year one, if you're like brand new to recruitment, structure your day, like talk to your manager about like what's going to work for you, and that could be different things for different markets, like that could be different like areas to work on, but definitely just kind of structure it like BD every day. Make sure that you're like immersing yourself in the market, make sure you're talking to enough candidates every day as well. I think it's really important. When you're brand new to recruitment, you have no idea what the market's like. Like definitely like just talk to people, like, and don't be afraid that you're maybe like not as technical as they are. Like the person on the end of the phone knows you're not technical. If you're talking to like in IT recruitment, like well, you know, any recruitment really. So
no, I think okay, cool. And then I think a really key part of that, which I've definitely been victim of and have done, is like, I think you started out by saying like make sure you stick to it. I think that's really important. Is like if you do decide going into next week that this is how you're going to structure your week, or this is what you're going to focus on a daily basis, then like give yourself a sort of, right, I'm going to do this for 4 weeks and see sort of what the returns are, and actually like really commit to it for
definitely.
Rather than doing it for a day and going, oh, that was shit or whatever.
If you didn't get the results on like the first day, like okay, cool, but don't let that get yourself down for the rest of the week. Definitely stick to it. And I think like there's a lot of times, and I've been guilty of it, you say you're going to do it but then you don't, and it's just like being being accountable for it, and holding yourself accountable, and knowing that it's, I know it sounds kind of harsh, but knowing that if you don't do it, it's no one else's fault, and it's kind of your fault if you haven't achieved that, and being
accountable.
Definitely, mate. 100%.
So let's segue into the sort of what you've been up to in the last sort of 7 months, because you've now sort of immersed yourself into a completely different environment.
Right? It's been good.
Going into, you was part of a global recruitment business, surrounded by loads of people, loads of infrastructure that like obviously would be beneficial. And now you're in a business of how big?
So there's 9 of us.
9, yeah? And that was the sort of environment that I found myself in, right? So I guess firstly, why don't we just talk a bit about, because just to let everyone know, so like you've gone there and you've in the last 7 months you've had to start a market that's new to you, and new to the recruitment business, from scratch.
From scratch.
So we're going to talk about that. But firstly, what I'd love you just to share in terms of the last sort of 7 months is, and this was sort of one of the questions that someone shared with me, is sort of what would you say are the benefits of starting your career with a obviously large recruitment business or growing recruitment business versus a smaller one, because you've experienced both now. So like definitely. what have you got to share around that, and the things that you've picked up on that's different and stuff?
So I think definitely the benefits of working for a larger business, you are surrounded by people that can give you help, that people want you to be the best you are, like the best you can. You're surrounded by like really, really successful people, a lot of people, and everyone's kind of going in the same direction. And that really motivates you, and you learn so much. Like, you know, big companies like the one I work for, Austin Fraser, like great training programs, you learn so much. And I genuinely can't take away and can't say anything bad about that, because they taught me everything I know about recruitment. And that's very difficult when you're different to coming into a small business that maybe don't have that infrastructure. That don't have those training and development programs. And it can be, and it's been challenging, but kind of fun at the same time. But yeah, I definitely say like the training aspect of like those bigger companies can really help, like massively help.
And then what have been the positives for you so far that you've sort of experienced in the last sort of 7 months being in a 9-person business?
I think what's been really good, and actually like the directors of the business have been really receptive to like how Austin Fraser have done work, and they've actually asked me a lot of questions like, oh well, what are we doing well? What can we be doing better? Like we've kind of hired you to kind of guide us on that. And I think what I've really enjoyed is kind of having a bit of a voice to be able to kind of change things and actually like, oh, I noticed that you guys were doing this. Maybe we should try this.
Yeah.
You know, as a smaller business, the guys have like listened to things about like the systems that we use, you know, the job boards that we're now using. And I think that's been really refreshing to kind of have that kind of, people like listening to you and going, actually, and then hope, you know, seeing benefits from it as well. Like going, actually, this is so much better. Like, you know, we had like an old system called Firefish, which was, you know, it was pretty awful. If I'm, you know,
sorry,
honest.
Firefish.
Yeah, sorry, Firefish, if you're listening. But then we went to Bullhorn, right? And Bullhorn is like, you can't fault it.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay, no, I love that, and my own experience in that was the biggest value that I got as well. Like actually having an opinion that was listened to, and then actually seeing the sort of person that you work your absolute socks off for listen to you, implement it, and like seeing the impacts of that. I think is really cool.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's just talk about what the hell you've been up to in the last 7 months, because I think again something that's really popular that people ask me about is business development and all these types of things, right? So you've gone into a niche that you've never recruited in before.
Yep.
You joined a 9-person business, right? Like you've got out of your comfort zone here, mate.
Yeah, massively.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
like,
to most people that would be quite daunting.
Yeah. So for me, let's just break down the last 7 months before we finish this episode. Like what was the game plan? Like how? So a few things. One, what was the game plan to get clients? Two, like how did you plan to differentiate yourself?
Yeah.
Right. Like let's start there. Like what was the game plan, mate?
The game plan was do so. I guess what I've taught, what I learned from AF, which was get your name out there, start talking to candidates. I literally went in, never recruited for this kind of position.
Did you build this
before.
database from scratch yourself before we started?
I cannot and there was nothing, like literally nothing.
Zero.
No, there was zero candidates.
Like no one around you was doing the market that you could leverage off.
No, it was completely from scratch.
Yeah.
Like absolutely, brand new. There wasn't a single candidate on the database. So, so the first thing like I literally did was just start talking to candidates. The first thing I had no idea about the technology, and I wasn't. In my experience, like I'm not afraid to ask people like what things mean. Like if you're brand new to a technology and you have no idea what you're talking about, talk to a candidate and ask them.
Just quickly, sorry, just because it's like just in my head, like how did you identify the niches quickly and the technology just out of interest? Like how and why did you pick because it's cybersecurity?
Cybersecurity.
So why did you pick that?
So I actually spoke to I was actually like an event with someone, a technology event, and someone mentioned about it. And I started to kind of look into it a bit more, and I sort of saw this niche, and I was like, hang on a minute, this is pretty big. And I started seeing things on like the news.
Okay.
Like, I mean, most recent one, for instance, being Travel X. I know that there was, there was actually one that happened at a company called Maersk in Maidenhead. They're a big shipping company.
Okay.
And I read an article on that about how they were like cyber criminals had basically hacked into their systems, and the CEO of the business walked in, and all on the black screens, he could just see someone controlling the computers. And it just kind of like spiraled from there. So I started taking a bit of an interest into it, and I started reading a book about it. Nice. And I just kind of found it really, really interesting. And for me, one thing about like recruiting in technology, if you don't find it interesting, you're not that you won't be good at it, but if you don't you'll find it difficult, because if you don't find it actually something that you really kind of enjoy, then it's kind of like, and when I have conversations with people, they're a bit more like, oh, actually this guy's, I'm enjoying talking about it, and I like to learn about it.
Okay, nice.
So I just kind of like, and it kind of like spiraled out of control.
Okay,
I was like,
fair enough.
I was actually like, oh, actually, this is really interesting. So for me, like, if some advice to anyone starting a brand new tech market, kind of maybe sit down with your manager and find out what's kind of new, what's interesting to you as a person. Because when you start finding things more interesting, you then can have conversations with people that aren't about recruitment. They're about the technology, like what's the latest news out there at the moment. And people kind of buy into a lot more, and they think they kind of know you're a bit more credible. So I just started literally like reading books on it. And just kind of really got into it, really. And then I was talking to candidates about it, and all these candidates were really passionate about it and kind of saying how it's massive and it's going to be really big and it's only going to get bigger. And I
think that's a big part, just the punchline there, just to make it clear. Love what you said there, self-discovery, really going out there on your own to read about these things. But then clearly a big factor of you deciding, you know what, this is the market and vertical that I'm going to build out, is that you recognize it, that it's going to be a growing industry. Like that's the key, right? This is important because like you could find something you're passionate about, but if there's no fucking money in it, there's no point.
Well, yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But okay,
yeah, definitely. And I think like you can actually do that as a recruiter. You can kind of sit down and do your own research. Just go online, go on Google, and go right tech trends for 2020 or and beyond, and kind of see like what people are recruiting for. Go on to like IT Jobs Watch, and that will tell you like what the average salaries are for tech jobs in certain niches, and within certain areas like cybersecurity, for instance, it pays really well. Like so you're working like really good, exactly, high salaries. People that you talk to are quite like, you have good conversations with people, and that's what I really love about it, is that you're having conversations with really professional people that know what they want, passionate about what they do. Yeah, you're equally as passionate about helping them with recruitment.
Nice.
So I think definitely, like anyone out there, don't just kind of take the first thing and go, oh, well, this is the technology you're recruiting for. Challenge, and that's a little bit harder if you're brand new to recruitment, but I think you should challenge the business a little bit. If you're joining a recruitment company, they go to you, right, you need to recruit this, and you're like, but hang on a minute, the technology says that we're going this way, and I'm reading about it, and I'm finding actually there are some really good tech trends. Go and talk to your manager and say, actually, I think we should be doing this.
Yeah, nice.
So
start speaking to candidates.
Yeah.
How mate, there could be so many different types of job titles that you could go for, right? So how the fuck did you identify that?
So I pretty much kind of like sat down and just did research. I was literally on JobServe. I was putting in cybersecurity. I was looking at the different levels of cybersecurity on Google.
Okay.
Just researching. Like I don't think necessarily people realise how important research can be.
Just mapping out the market, researching it, understanding the different job titles, and just how important that can be to your market and like what you're recruiting for. Like there's no point just, like I say, recruiting for something if you've never researched it and you know nothing about it. Actually go away, sit down, really do some research, look into it. Again, you don't have to know like everything. Like people at the other end of the phone. That's going to be my thing. Like how because I think that's what a lot of people are worried about. So like, how was it received by these people, and how did you approach these people when talking to them about a technology market you've never done before?
So I think like if you're really honest with people, like I kind of said this earlier, I think if you're really honest with candidates and kind of say, look, maybe like you're brand new to it started, kind of say to them, look, I just wanted to know a little bit more about this technology on your CV. Can you tell me a little bit about it? Ask these candidates, like, what's the latest technology trend for you? Like, what are you seeing on the market? Like I say, just having those really kind of open, honest conversations with candidates. I do it now. Like if I see something, I'm not an expert on cybersecurity. I'm not a cybersecurity engineer. I don't have that. But like, so I'm always like asking the guys, like, oh, what's the latest thing? What do you think we should look out for, like trend wise?
Yeah.
And just being really honest with them. Like these people, like no matter what tech market you recruit in, they know you are not a technical person. Yeah. So don't kind of get hung up and worried about it. They respect what you're doing as a job, and they know that you're not there to be technical. You're there to try and like talk to them about a job that you've got.
I like it. So start with candidates, having conversations, start asking open questions, doing your research clearly. Yeah. How did you get jobs on, mate?
Just non-stop kind of, and I think we're going to talk about it, is just that resilience piece.
Really?
Like it just knowing that, it takes time to get clients on. Like I knew from like back in like when I worked at Austin Fraser, I knew that it sometimes can take a year to get a client on. I think one of the longest.
Deal, mate.
Yeah. In my case, yeah. So
how long did you give yourself?
What for?
To like pull jobs, to like make placements, pull jobs.
I'm still doing it
7
now.
Months.
I'm still doing it now.
But like mentally, like for people listening, because again, I think this is the thing, right? A lot of people can't get their head above the water and think like, when is this going to change? So like, no, obviously you've got the added context of working in recruitment for 6 years before taking this leap or whatever. Like in your mind, like how long did you give yourself to be like, right, so if I haven't got some success by X, like maybe I should reconsider my strategy?
So I gave myself kind of 3-4 months to kind of get a deal within that space.
Yeah.
I kind of said, right, considering it's absolutely brand new, I know nothing about it, which I managed to do.
Well done,
and then
how long did it take you?
So that deal took me, I think it was 2 months,
2 months.
into
That's
a
not
brand
bad, is
new
it?
market.
Brand new market.
It was with an existing client, but yeah,
What
managed.
do you mean
to,
existing client?
So it was a client that the company already worked with,
Okay.
but yeah, brand new area of the business, no one had worked with. Again, I had no real, cybersecurity knowledge, so I was really pleased with that. And I think now,
What about how long did it take your own client and job and fill your own job? Have you done that yet?
no, not yet.
Okay,
So I'm still
fair.
doing it. So there you go. That's
Okay, fair.
still doing it. And I think that's like, that is a completely honest thing, starting a new market. I think if you're starting a new market, even if you've got experience like I have, don't be worried about it taking a little bit longer, because it does. There's a lot of recruitment companies out there that have been doing it for a little bit longer than I have.
Have you pulled jobs?
Yeah, pull jobs. We got some really good clients that, like, hopefully now you sort of see I'd say the 6 month mark is where you, after everything you're doing, talking to candidates, managers, and adding in all this data onto Bullhorn, that's when we're now sort of reaping the rewards, which is exciting. It's an exciting time.
So how have you so again, back to the resilience piece, right? So I'm sure this is sort of the self-talk and the things you're thinking in your head. So like, how and what sort of things are you measuring or being aware of on a monthly basis to be like, right, Joe, keep doing, we're getting close to that 6 month mark. Like, I know I'm building momentum here. Like, what sort of things are you sort of making sure you're gunning for to be like, right, that month, I haven't made a placement, I haven't pulled a job yet, but I've done this. Do you know what I mean? What?
Yeah, so I think definitely for me and anyone kind of starting a market from scratch, the key thing is that, so I always the way that I recruit, and I did recruit before, is very candidate driven. So having these candidates that are on the database that you've spoken to, that are good people. I've now got, I think it's like 257 people I think I've added since I've been there that are really, really good cybersecurity, infosec people. And being like, again, coming down to just being like really like rigid and on exactly what you do. Like, don't stray away from it. Kind of be right. I'm only adding in the best people. I only want to work with the best candidates at the salaries that are kind of like high level, like the 60K plus salaries, because they're the guys I want to work with. They're higher fees. And then just kind of knowing that doing things like, the manager's added, how many contacts are we getting into the database? How many BD calls are we doing? Making sure that you are on top of like doing the sales days, making sure that when we're doing that, like, I'm like, right, this is the list of people I'm going to call. I'm going to I'm going to get this done. I'm going to call these people. Making sure that you're searching for people's mobile numbers. Like something, if anyone out there that hasn't heard of this, go onto the job boards, put a manager name in, his old CV might come up with a mobile number.
Nice.
Little simple things like that, where that mobile number can be like really helpful to your like BD.
Yeah, of course.
So just definitely doing things like that, making sure you know who's interviewing, who the companies out there that are recruiting, and staying on top of it. And there's obviously thousands of companies out there that are recruiting, but stick to the ones that are using agencies. And just keep going with it. Keep knowing that if you keep doing it and you keep doing the same things over and over again, it can get mundane, but it will work. And eventually someone will come back to you and you'll be like, it's happened. I'm so happy. Like, this one client has come back to me, and you just kind of have that kind of almost like a bit of relief that after all that hard work and putting in all that effort, it will come and it will happen. But you just got to stick to it. Just got to stick to it.
Yeah. And how has as you're building out this market with the clients, I mean, at this point, you're getting these people to sort of buy into you and say, look, I will deliver this. Like, how have you pitched it to clients that obviously you've now got some good clients that you've signed terms with that you've done yourself? But like, what was, again, I'm thinking like some people might be thinking, right, I get it, Joe, definitely speak to candidates. You can be a bit more confident doing that straight out the gate. But the client side, why are these people going to give me a chance if I've got no track record? Because that's what you can rely on when you've got experience, right? You've got no track record. Like, you haven't made a single placement with a thing, so you've got to really, do you know what I mean? You've got to you've got to know your worth and all that. But like, how have you sort of articulated it and communicated it to clients you've ended up signing out of interest?
So I'll probably use a bit of a cliche sentence here.
Go on.
You've probably heard it before, but the old act as if.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard that before, the act as if.
Like where you want to be, wherever you want to be rather than...
It's pretty cliche in the recruitment world and quite cheesy, but it actually works. Like, if you go into a call and you're like, do you know what? I am a really good recruiter. Don't worry. It don't matter about that you may not know the technology, but know that you're a really good recruiter. Know that the effort and the time that you will put into recruiting that job, and know that what the work that you will do to help that client fill that job, going into that call with that mindset is really going to help you. Like, it's really going to give you that, like, I even found for me, like, I stand up. So I like stand up if I'm on a call with a client. I get that, like, that confidence comes from like standing up and just being able to kind of like, again, like articulate what you do, being able to just be confident and saying that, and like, they don't know that you're not the best recruiter out there. They don't know that. They have no idea that that you might just be the person that has the best CV, that can give them the best service. And that's kind of the mindset that you got to go in with. And I, even now, I do it now. I'm to the clients out there, and sorry to any clients listening, but I'm the best security recruiter that they're talking to, and I believe that. And I really have that belief.
Fair.
And if that belief
so when we say act as if, what are we saying here? So like, are we saying act as if you've made a shitload of placements in the cybersecurity world, and this is why you?
Why not? Why not? But why not? But that client.
Well, I think the reason why I'm pushing back on that is, I don't know, because there's sort of two cards here. I feel like you could play. You could, like, which you've already spoken about, as being honest, right? Yeah. So, and it's come up a lot in here when people start their own recruitment business, or even potentially start a new market, where people have literally said, "Hi Joe, look, this is where I'm at right now. This is the market I'm building now. This is why. These are the people that I've been speaking to. I've got 200 plus people on the database right now. Blah blah blah. This is where I'm at. Give me a chance."
Yeah.
So that's obviously an option, right? And what a lot of people shared on here is that you'd be surprised how many businesses will give you a chance, who want to help you out and take you on that journey or be part of your journey. And then you've got this act as if. Obviously, you can be whatever you want with that, but I guess that I'm just saying, that's why I'm pushing a bit back on that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think like the bit around like, being someone that's like, look, I've started my journey, I've got this many candidates. That's still like an element of like, I guess we come back to like the self-worth thing and telling people that you're still a good recruiter, right? And still, and that's absolutely fine to kind of go into that conversation and go, look, actually, all right, I'm 4 months in, but actually for the last 4 months, I've been building a market, I've been talking to this many people, I've been actually doing this, and like I know what I'm talking about, and I can really help you, like give me an opportunity sort of thing. The act as if piece, I think, it's not going to work for every call, don't get me wrong, and it's not. And I think like, in every call, you've got to like, you have to kind of mirror what the situation is, And it's, in some instances, it's not going to work. Some instances, it's going to work. When you're on a meeting, like with a client, and you've never recruited in that space before, you have to kind of act like you are aware of what you're doing. Like you have to kind of give that and portray that kind of confidence.
I think it's got to be a balance in that.
Okay.
I think. I think because like I guess from what I'm taking from what you're saying is like, but you strike me as someone that wouldn't be like this. But like, if you went into that meeting acting as if you know everything, all this, I guess I'd want you to just be clear on is that isn't you saying act as if like with an arrogance that you know. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's acting as if that you're someone that completely believes in the worth that you are, the value that you're gonna deliver on this, but at the same time having the humility to ask the right questions and find out. Do you know what I mean?
It's not about acting as if and going in there and being a dick. It's about like kind of actually like acting and going like, look, I know that I'm new, but here's what I'm doing, and having that confidence and going, look, I know my worth, and I'm gonna give you the best service. And it's that kind of like level that. It is like, don't get me wrong, it's difficult when you're brand new to recruitment.
Yeah,
that's hard. That's a hard thing, but it will like, if you can have that mindset of doing that and having those conversations, getting new clients on with new terms is going to be like a lot easier, and it's going to come a lot
100%.
quicker.
No, mate, 100%. I think, it's just been interesting going back and forth there, because I think some people will definitely find that hard.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
And I totally get it, but I think, to sort of underline that, there's definitely nothing wrong with you being someone and sort of aspiring and acting as if you're going to be the best person in the market. No, there's nothing wrong with that at all. I think for me, how I've approached my own business and stuff like that, for me, I've sort of probably used a bit of both. Yeah. Personally, like that's just how I. Yes, but it's just interesting.
Yeah. There's different ways of doing it. I think like different personalities are gonna tweak the ways in which like work for them, and I think that's only that's about finding out what works for you.
What works for you,
like what works for me might not actually work
Yeah.
for someone else. So I think that's quite an important thing to make, is that
Yeah.
there are going to be things that you do.
Everyone's different.
Yeah. And there's going to be things that I do or someone else does that aren't going to work.
Yeah.
But then you tweak it.
But that,
and you
mate,
try again.
that's awesome, mate. Like, I love the fact that you've really clearly really gone out of your comfort zone, back to basics, like
really back to
go.
basics.
Yeah,
Like
so
trainee consultant again, pretty much.
So yeah, mate. Well, hopefully on the cusp of closing your own pull in place deal. New market, new sector. Okay, mate. So look, before we finish, a couple of questions.
Yeah, go for it.
On resilience, as you know, the event coming up, right? So, so just to sort of, the first one is like, what does resilience in recruitment mean to you?
Cool. So I had a little think about this last night, because you only gave me the criteria yesterday. No, I'm thinking. So I think resilience for me is it's a multitude of different things. I don't think there's one thing that you can pinpoint as someone that is resilient.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of different elements that make someone resilient as an individual. Like I said earlier, I think even little things like being on time for work just shows that your willingness to do this and your resilience to keep at this, and little things like that can be a massive difference in you as an individual.
Yeah.
I think resilience can also, for me, personally, I believe that resilience can be taught.
Yeah.
So if you've got a really good mentor and someone that is telling you that actually things do not always go well, things in recruitment and in sales in general typically will be going wrong or not the way you want it to go. But if someone's actually kind of educating you on that, you're more likely to build up a tolerance of actually, do you know what? I didn't do a deal, but I'm going to keep going and I'm going to keep trying that, and I'm going to keep giving it my best shot because I want to be successful. So I think for me, it's a multitude of different things of like I say, just different elements that can make someone a resilient individual.
Yeah, nice. No, I'm happy with that. I think you've answered a couple of them. So that's cool. So before I ask you the final question, mate, what are you excited about? What's going on in your world that you want to shout about?
So I'm excited about building a business. That's what I'm really excited about. I'm excited from scratch. I'm excited about the direction that the business is going in, the trust that the directors have in me as a person to be able to deliver, the trust that it doesn't happen overnight. Even with my 6 years of recruitment experience, I know I can't build a business within a few months or do 100 grand's worth of deals in 6 months. I just know that that's not where it is. But really excited that the business is definitely going in the right direction. We're trying to build something. We've just moved to a nicer office, which is really cool. It's a bit more quirky vibe now, which we're really excited about. Mate, moved in with my girlfriend, which is a bit more on a personal note, but that's now paying bills and stuff and all
Big
that.
change that, mate.
Oh yeah.
No going back now, son.
She's actually going to be listening to this, so I'm not sure how much I can say.
That's wicked, mate. Happy for you.
Really.
I think honestly, mate, I think a lot of people. I think back to sort of what you said around. You can obviously when you work for a big business, there's pros and cons, obviously, but you can be comfortable. You could have stayed, and there's nothing wrong with it, but you could have stayed at AF and not left there, and that's fine. But you decided not to. You've got out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Fair play, mate.
I think there's so much and I'm not trying to say to anyone just leave your job, but there is for people that are maybe looking for work, that are listening, that want to know what's out there, and there is a lot out there. Go and explore, go and have a little look. Don't be afraid to go and try something that you've never done before. Go to a company that kind of trusts and believes in you and can see that see that kind of passion in you to do recruitment. And if you really want to get into it, go and explore those smaller companies that kind of maybe can trust you, and you can be part of something, can kind of get really, get right out of your comfort zone and try something you've never done before, and just kind of go with it. And that's kind of what I've done. I've really kind of just I know what works in recruitment for me, and kind of over the last kind of 6 years or so, and just trying it, and I'm enjoying it because it's something so different. It's kind of a new element to my life, sort of.
Yeah, I like it, mate. So look, final question.
Yeah.
You can answer this with a phrase, a sentence, a word, whatever comes to mind. If Joe could communicate to every single recruiter out there, they'd listen, they'd take on your advice, they'd implement it tomorrow, what have you got to say to the people, mate?
To the people, don't worry about not doing deals or getting real hung up on like recruitment and panicking. Don't worry about it. If you're new to recruitment, even if you're like, you know, long in the tooth to recruitment, don't panic. You know, ask your manager for help, ask people around you for help, look for advice, and just enjoy recruitment and what it actually is. You know, don't get like down about it. You know, if you're going to work every day like, this is awful, I hate it, probably not, maybe not right for you. But if you are like really enjoying it, and yeah, just don't panic about it. You know, like just enjoy the job from what it is, because it's fucking amazing. So there you go. It's good recruitment's brilliant. So
Joe, it's been a pleasure, mate.
Cool. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.